we're going to look at some notes. And if this was a full sheet of paper, I'd normally cut it in half, so you'd be able to see where it's going to just be repeated on here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to look at our numbers. So if I have the number 1, I want to be able to square that number where it says equivalent square root. We're going to put in squared number. So 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. I'm just going to fill in all of these. These are ones that you should know. We've used them a lot in this unit. And then if I'm asking you to approximate a square root, what you're really trying to do is figure out where does it fit. So this 63 would be fitting in about right here, and it's really close to the 64. So that means when I take the square root of 63, it's less than 64, so it's going to be 7 point something. So I know it's between 7 squared and 8 squared. That's kind of a way that we can explain how we're getting these numbers, because we would do this if we didn't have a calculator. And so that's what we're trying to figure out, is if I don't have a calculator, how would I be able to do these? And I'm not really asking you to do more than up through 121. Typically in school we would do up to 144. We just didn't have room to put the 12 in there. And so if it's between 7 and 8, it's also really close to 8. So I'm going to just guess at like 7.8. That's my approximation. If I put it into the calculator and I actually looked at what it was, it's 7.9. I'm not going to be too worried about that. We're just trying to kind of guess where they would fit and then giving an explanation. So the square root of 95, I'm going to look at that squared, the pieces in red, and I know that 95 is going to fit somewhere in here. And then I'm going to look and say, okay, well, it's only 5 away from 100. It's definitely more than 5 away from the 81. So I know it's between 9 squared and 10 squared. So I know it's going to be 9 point something. It is closer to the 10, so it's bigger than a 9.5. So I'm going to go ahead and do maybe like another 9.8. And then just because I have a calculator, I'm going to go ahead and check. And it would be 9.746. So, but still 9.8 is kind of giving me that general idea. That's our goal here. And then we have the square root of 84. So 84 is going to still be in that same category. So I know it's between 9 squared and 10 squared. And then it's pretty close to that 81. So I'm going to just go ahead and guess 9.1. And we can see what it says. 84 square root is going to be 9.165. So 9.2 might have been a little bit closer. But I'm just being able to say that I know it's just a little over 9. Or I know it's just under a particular number. That's what I'm really looking for. And that's kind of what this chart here is saying. You're going to decide which perfect squares it falls closest to. Having that chart is just easier. So even if you know them all, I still find it's harder sometimes to come up with them, and I just start going through that chart in my head. So it's going to end up being like 25 and 5, and I want them to be consecutive right next to each other. So I know it's between 5 and 6. And then if it's closer, in this case, it's closer to the 5. So I might say like 5.1 or 5.2. So that's how we approximate them.